That's James's power bowl, baked potato cottage cheese power bowl, and pineapple, a salad. I'm going to talk about the history of ancient Rome a little bit, mostly leave it to James, and talk about these other two movies briefly. First, I'm going to read a poem which I just wrote while I was waiting for James, because oftentimes I used to keep a Sudoku book in the car for when James was still out and I was back from the trail or whatever. But I lent it to James to take with him for when he goes for his cancer treatments, and he hasn't come back to the car. So I've been keeping one of my little notebooks in the car and just writing down some poetry. And this time I had time to write a whole poem, a Rime Royale. So this one is called Mysterious Botterill Bottoms, because we were hiking in Botterill Bottom Park. And so I wrote this one June 21st, 2024, so that's today. We walked the path at Botterill, quite puzzled at what was left behind. We kept on guessing there until the answer finally crossed my mind. Not rabbit, porcupine, or deer. A herd of pygmy goats were here. I knew I'd seen this sight before at Alexander Wilderness. I knew what they'd been looking for, and they found plenty here, I'd guess. These pygmy goats were here to feed on leafy spurge, a noxious weed. I now see little of that here, where there'd been plenty days before. Goats sure do love that stuff, that's clear, but are these goats just planting more in droppings that they left behind for me and other folks to find? So that's always a concern. You have to think about, well, it looks good now, but what's the real result of this? Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, I've went through the history of ancient Rome now, and that was a galumphing thing.
Yeah.
So that's with Professor Garrett G. Fagan, and it's 8 discs, 8 DVDs full of information. So
the history is basically 1,000 years long. So it goes from, when they got freedom. It actually goes earlier than that, but they got freedom from the Etruscan invaders, 500 BC. According to traditional dating, and then Rome is supposed to have been destroyed 476 AD, so that's 976 years. And so there's a lot of history there. And there were, 24 discs or something like that? A lot of chapters and so on and so forth.
I think more than that.
There's not 48 discs.
48 lessons, you mean? You meant 48
lessons, yeah. Okay, but they're not that many discs, yeah. Still trying to wake up. Some of the meds.
No, I knew what you meant.
Yeah. Folks at home.
But
anyway, thanks for clarifying that. You gonna review those?
Well, I am, and then I'm gonna let you go ahead with Rome, because honestly, I could tell you a few things that I found interesting about it that I never. Okay.
And then I'll make some.
Well, the fact that women didn't have names of their own, they just had the same name. So sometimes they would name. I can't remember what the name that they called them was, but it was basically just the family name for women. Mm-hmm. And if they wanted to differentiate, they'd give them numbers. So that's interesting.
They didn't cover that in the book.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I should have made notes about that, so that I could
I don't know.
talk about it more
there's
clearly.
a Gripina, that's feminine.
I have no idea.
Julia. So I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I couldn't even tell you which lecture this was. Yeah, it would have been early on. Mm-hmm. But eventually, he was talking about how, although the eldest son had total control over all the properties of everyone in the family, and he could sell his family members into slavery if he wanted to.
Their freedom
but he said that really didn't happen very often. Although they had that right, they didn't push it. So anyway, and he did talk about how later on women even became, I guess, patrons sort of thing. So they even supported projects and whatever. So
It's hard to generalize when you
Yeah.
deal with the history that there's more than 1,000 years now.
Yep. So anyway, so I guess I shouldn't have said anything because people might think, oh, the Romans, that this and that. Well, over what period of time, right? I wasn't paying attention. I'm just listening while I'm writing poetry or while I'm doing whatever, and James will be better to fill in the blanks for you. Or honestly, borrow this great course from your public library.
This guy knows way more
He
about
knows
Rome
a
than I
lot.
do. No.
And he's really cute to watch because he's really nervous, and
He says a lot, right?
I don't know.
I think he's Scottish.
Yeah, he's anyway.
He is nervous.
He's nervous. So I think it's adorable. But anyway, how to be a good wife. I thought this would be more interesting. It has Juliette Binoche, and she looks amazing, like always. She is so beautiful. Always has been. Anyway, this is basically, like James noticed, it's a bit of a musical. It only really is at the end. And I guess maybe it's supposed to symbolize how the women feel free all of a sudden, so they're able to sing or whatever. I don't know. But it only really becomes a musical at the end. And it's really about women's liberation in France. So this was
Tough
set
job.
in May in 1968.
That's when they were supposed to have the big revolution.
Yeah. So that's what this is leading up to. This is leading up to that big revolution. And this is how to be a good wife. I guess at the time there were all sorts of schools all over France where young ladies would go to learn how to be a good wife. So they'd learn how to iron clothes and cook specific meals, and they'd know how to do all that sort of thing after they went through the lessons. And I know with many amiable people, I've heard a lot of amiable women talking about before. It's funny because I don't know why they mention it to me, but they've said to me, we really should be taught this stuff in school, how to do laundry, how to whatever, and honestly, it's not just, it's amiable women who are saying that to me because they're the ones who end up stuck with it, right, in the household. But really
guys
it
pay
should
for it
be,
in the end, because so often when a woman dies, within a year her husband dies because he can't take care of himself.
But not always. Your mother set up your father really nicely so that he was taken care of, and it worked.
Well,
out
he
for a
set
long
up.
time.
He took care of.
Well,
like
he
it was
did
with
too.
his pension.
Yes.
But it's good that she went into this
Yes.
home, because he wanted to live on his own. He would have dropped like a fly.
Yeah. So he didn't have to worry about certain things, and it worked out for him for a very long time.
Especially food. So
Yeah.
he was in a pretty good place.
Yeah.
And he
For
lived to
the
be
first-
99 and a half, but he was about 82, 81 when she died. He wouldn't have made it.
The
1
last
year
place
without-
he ended up in, not good at all. He didn't last long there. So anyway,
That's not his responsibility. Well, it's kind of his responsibility.
kind of is, but I don't know how much responsibility you can give to people when they get older. They don't think through things very clearly.
Anyway, he was in
anymore.
a place where
So-
they couldn't take care of him. He wasn't. He had enough money somehow or another. He was in a place, a cheapo place. It was dumpy.
Well, he was busy paying for somebody else's living expenses. at the
Better
time.
not say anything about that.
No.
But not your fault. But
No,
the person is.
no, I feel bad for him because I actually like the guy. But anyway,
I know.
doesn't matter. Not to do with this. So, what I was going to say is that, yeah, it's a shame that they stopped teaching young women how to do laundry and cook for themselves and their families and stuff like that. Because what they should have done is taught everyone, not just the girls, but taught everyone these life skills. So now, since then, who's been managing the house? I mean, if people have enough wealth that they've made by working double income, no kids, then they outsource the care to somebody who's probably working illegally, but maybe not, but not working for very much, to
Handling way too many kids. So daycare centers.
Well, that's true too.
They contract out cooking
all of these
to
other things
restaurants.
are outsourced. All the managing the house, managing the children, that's been outsourced, and it's not good. It's not good for anybody. So
What should happen is that the guys man up, grow at least one if you can't grow two, and if you have a kid, you're responsible. You should do 50% of the taking care of the household and taking care of the kids.
So anyway, the movie wasn't good. I guess it's an important subject. It really wasn't handled well, and it was disappointing. Maybe I do. Even worse than that one. This was so bad, and there's a lot of talent here. Diane Keaton, Richard Gere, Susan Sarandon, Emma Roberts, Luke Bracey, I don't know who he is, and William H. Macy. Well, I can guess.
This guy's awesome.
Yeah, he is.
Is that William H. Macy?
Yeah, it is. I guess this guy would be Luke Bracey, but I don't know. He was just some handsome guy in the movie. Don't know.
That's right. Hollywood. Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe he had something to do with whoever was writing this. I don't know. I don't know why this ever got made. It's terrible. There's some sort of corruption involved with the making of this movie, because gosh, it was terrible. Absolutely terrible. It's about you start out, you see the young couple who are way too young to be the children of these other people, although I know that some people are having children at very late ages. It's just, this is not likely. These Richard Gere and Diane Keaton, they look like grandparents at this point. They don't
Very
look like...
good looking.
Yes, very good looking. But anyway, so it starts out, you're meeting those guys, and you're meeting the parents too, but they're cheating on each other and they don't realize that they're cheating on each other with their children's parents, sort of thing. So it's just too much of a coincidence. It's absolutely ridiculous. And in the end, everyone's happy. The marriages stay together, and
typical Hollywood
the kids get
romantic
married,
comedy.
and how wonderful. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it's not worth watching. It's so bad. So bad. Not even worth watching if you're doing housework while you're watching it. So anyway.
Funny, like people blame Hollywood for churning out these bad endings and so on and so forth, particularly like French intellectuals, Hollywood. People want this garbage.
Do they?
Well, I think so.
I don't think so. I don't think anybody could want to watch this movie.
I couldn't imagine people wanting to watch Vin Diesel and or Sylvester Stallone and or who's that idiot?
Well, I have watched some entertaining movies from those people. So go ahead. You have 15 minutes. Enjoy. You have to be more entertaining than these movies were, no matter what you say.
Yikes. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll start off with Ezra Levant.
Okay.
The War on Fun. So, I was going to introduce him yesterday. Camera maybe has a good taste about Ezra Levant. Ezra Levant has served at least one good purpose. Blew the whistle on Iran a while back, saying that they were going to, reintroduce Sharia law, or a particular aspect of Sharia law. And all the hefty lefties got out there supporting Iran. News for you. I was talking to a devout Muslim a while back. Very devout. A Sufi. I don't know how. I kind of shudder to think how fundamentalist he is. Sufis aren't supposed to be, according to what hefty lefties say. Understand, when I'm listening to hefty lefties, nifty shifty hefty lefties nowadays, those are the wild and crazy ones. And they say, I think they're the majority, actually. I take their opinions with a, well, they say with a lick of salt or something like that. No, with a whole cow lick of salt. So it's like I can't trust them anymore. I trust just any fly-by-night operator on the internet. Anyway, so they were saying, oh, Iran would never introduce, I don't know, it was some sort of aspect of Sharia law. I think it was taxes, dhimmi taxes, taxes on DHIMMIs. Those are so-called tolerated people in Islam. Traditionally, it was initially, I should say, it was Christians and Jews, and then it was extended toleration of sorts. It was, like if you had toleration of Muslims like that in the so-called West, there'd be blood flowing in the streets. Like special taxes and all that sort of stuff. Not allowed to. Restrictions on buildings, restrictions on bell ringing, so that the equivalent of Islam would be restrictions on the muezzins calling out for prayer. And there actually should be restrictions. It should be the calling out on prayer, for prayer, in the way it was in Muhammad's time. No loudspeakers, at least in the tolerant West. The tolerant West can't tolerate people yelling and screaming over in cities for a call to prayer. Like use cell phones or something like that if you're going to try to extend the call. It shouldn't be any more than what it was. It just should be the human voice. That's in democracies. That's the way it is. Anyway, I believe Ezra Levant called. It's in the law. It's Sharia law. And they're fundamentalists in Iran. Wake up and slow up. But yeah, I was mentioning. I asked this Sufi guy, quite a learned individual. I'm not going to say who it was. So the lefties, I didn't say lefties, but left-wingers think that Muslims are going to be their allies. Kind of like faithful allies. Is that true? And all he just said was no. It was like that. It wasn't no, why, no, or anything. It's just no. Yeah. Just he didn't even shrug. I kind of shrugged. It's no. Just a flat no. No. You hear that? That's a Sufi. No. And when you're talking about real extreme fundamentalists like Wahhabis, absolutely not. You stupid putzes. And the Ayatollahs in Iran, you think they're going to ally with you? They'll do with you, you nifty, shifty, hefty lefties, what they did to the Tudeh party. And here's a guy from Iran, secular, born in 1966. He said when the Ayatollah lowered the boom, he didn't quite use that expression. He's very good at English. So when the Ayatollah lowered the boom, all the lefties, that he did use that term, ran off to Russia. There's no Russia to run off to now, you idiots. They have nothing in common with you, except they hate the West, they hate capitalism, they hate Christianity, they hate Calvinism, they hate Jews, just like you nifty, shifty, hefty lefties. And once you deliver power over to them, they'll hammer you. Hammer you! I asked this Sufi. Well, I didn't ask him. It was just volunteered it. He said, I can put up with Hinduism, but I can't stand Buddhism. Why? The Hindus at least worship gods, plural. The Buddhists don't worship a god, according to him. Got that clear? Can you imagine what you nifty, shifty, hefty, lefty atheists are thought of? That's a Sufi, you idiots. Can't stand you guys. They can't stand you guys. They'll kill you, you stupid morons. There'll be no Russia to run off to, you morons. No place. You stupid idiots. Off in your little dreamland. You know, like what you guys are, I don't know. Some of you folks are like the early socialists, the ones before Marx. Almost every one of them would be like, as Marx portrayed them, utopian socialist. That's what he called socialists before him. And of course, he was said, I'm not a utopian. No, you're not a utopian, Marx, if you're listening in from the depths of hell, wherever you're at. Ninth circle of hell. 10th circle of hell, maybe is where you belong. But anyway, maybe 11th circle. Maybe make up a new one for you. But, no, that'd be for Stalin. We weren't quite as bad. But Marx, what did you create? Dystopian socialism. You're one or the other, you nifty, shifty, hefty lefties. You're either a utopian socialist or a dystopian socialist. And a dystopian socialist, what does he believe in? Or he, she? They believe in a purgatory. Yeah? Dictatorship of the proletariat for a certain time. But unfortunately, eternal purgatory is what? Yeah, it's hell. Hell on earth. So that's what you guys are facing us with. Hell on earth. Now there are lots of different hells. I mean, over on the so-called left-hand side of things, there are militias, all that sort of stuff. They've got their own hell going. And Nazis basically have morphed over to the right-hand side of the political spectrum. Originally, they were socialists. They were just socialists who combined nationalism with their socialism. They were internationalists. Socialists. So the jump that Mussolini made, he once said, his big mistake was giving up on social democracy, but he it wasn't a big jump. He just jumped from being an internationalist socialist to being a national socialist. That's all. If you don't believe me, that's good. Check things out. But don't come around saying to me I'm wrong. Unless you've got some stuff to back me up, back yourself up. So you'll find out, if you actually check things out, that'll back the sources will back me up. So, the war on fun. So I was doing some reviews of a lot of books for adolescents and for kids too. I finished that, and now it's going to be the war on fun, because now I've moved into the philosophy section of my library. 5 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Very good.
And I'm going to be waging my own war on fun. And the soldiers, I'll be the general, and the soldiers will be philosophers. So here we go. Dostoevsky, Kierkegaard. That's a mispronunciation. Anyway, you probably don't even say the D in Danish, but I'm not going to try to give even a close to ring. Kierkegaard, we'll say. Soren Kierkegaard. I think Soren actually means thunder in Danish.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, well, it's really uninteresting, but thanks for saying so. And Nietzsche, and that's not Ray Nietzsche, the guy who used to play linebacker. I think he's middle linebacker for the Green Bay Packers. This guy was even more aggressive. So Friedrich Nietzsche. And Kafka. I don't know what these literary guys are doing, scrunched up with guys who are kind of like philosophers. Dostoevsky and Kafka don't belong in philosophy. Got that clear, you existentialists out there? I'm not even sure if Kierkegaard and Nietzsche belong there. Kierkegaard's kind of funny. Nietzsche is funny in its own way, in a kind of a grim, tragic, comic kind of way. That book I finished. I'm going to review it further. This one I'm halfway finished, almost exactly halfway finished. Got that? So I'm halfway through on the origin of inequality, and also by Rousseau, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and Perpetual Peace by Immanuel Kant. I don't know what they're doing together. Rough contemporaries, I guess. I'm going to have maybe a Kant, perpetual boredom, like. But it's kind of shot up a shovel. But what the heck? I'll try to give a more detailed analysis of what went wrong with Kant. That's fair amount. What went wrong with Rousseau is incredible, so I'm going to start dealing with that right now. So the war on fun here, and lots of you nifty, shifty, hefty, lefty. Rousseau's a big hero. The big trouble is he was the big hero for the French Revolution, and became increasingly, as the French Revolution became more and more revolution of revolutionary terror, Rousseau became more and more of an inspiration. What happened? Because you look in here, he's actually praising the state he ended up in. I'm not sure if he originated there. Geneva. And however you want to mispronounce it. And he's praising, he loves democracy, he says here. But unfortunately, this is on the origin of inequality, and he has to find out where inequality happened. And so he's kind of got this, it was picked up, I'm afraid, by Friedrich Engels. I suspect Rousseau was an influence. So Friedrich Engels kind of has this idea in one of his books, something about the beginning of private property. I've forgotten the title of it. This idea of, and he probably shared it with Marx, of primitive communism. Way back when, when people were maybe not even nomadic pastoralists, but nomadic hunter-gatherers. Oh, it was primitive democracy, communism, all that sort of stuff. It wasn't. Now, sociologists, like Margaret Mead and what was it, Malinowski, weirdly enough, they had the same idea. They were actually apparently Kantians. But this whole idea of primitive folks, so-called primitive folks, or savage people, as Rousseau calls them, is probably sauvage in the original French, probably meaning roughly the same thing that it means in English. I think originally it just means dwelling in the forest. Selvage. 2 minutes?
A minute.
A minute. So I'll have a lot more to say, but Rousseau screwed it up. Geneva in his time wasn't primitive communism. It was well developed. What happened? He screwed it up. He should have been saying, how did this develop? Where did it develop from? It developed from something worse and got better.
Is that it then?
Yep.
Okay.